Today, the house was unusually quiet, almost eerily so, with sunlight streaming through the tall windows and casting long shadows across the living room, and it felt as if the entire world had paused just for the two of us, my mother and me, which was rare because normally there was chatter, footsteps, laughter, and the hum of a busy home that never seemed to rest yet today. For some inexplicable reason, it was only her and me, and the stillness seemed heavy with the potential for something extraordinary to happen. A feeling I couldn't quite place, but that made my heart beat a little faster, and as I watched her quietly make the bed, her movements careful and deliberate, each fold of the sheet precise, I felt a surge of affection and admiration for the woman who had raised me with unwavering patience and devotion, despite the countless challenges life had thrown at her, and I realized how little I had ever truly appreciated these moments. The simple acts of domesticity that carried more love and dedication than any grand gesture ever could, and so I stepped into the room and greeted her softly, "Mom, it's such a beautiful day. Shall we go for a walk on the beach?" And she looked at me, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her lips. Hesitant at first, but I gently insisted, reminding her of the quiet beach nearby, where the waves whispered secrets to the shore, and the wind carried away worries, and slowly, as if warming to the idea, she agreed. And I felt a thrill of excitement at the prospect of sharing this time with her, of breaking the monotony and creating a memory that would linger in both our hearts. And as we stepped outside, the sun kissed our skin, and the breeze carried the scent of salt and eucalyptus, filling the air with the promise of adventure. And we walked along the sand, our footsteps leaving temporary imprints that the waves soon erased. A metaphor for the fleeting nature of time and the importance of cherishing moments before they vanish. And as we walked, found myself talking more openly than I usually did, sharing my thoughts, my dreams, my fears, and to my surprise, she did too, revealing pieces of herself that she had never shared with anyone, not even with my father, who, though a successful businessman, spent most of his time away, leaving her to navigate the quiet corridors of the house alone, and I saw in her eyes a mixture of longing and contentment, the kind that comes from finally feeling seen and understood. And in that moment, the years of distance, of unspoken words seemed to dissolve, leaving only the pure essence of our bond. And as the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting golden hues across the sand, we discovered a small tide pool shimmering with tiny crabs and vibrant sea anemones, and my mother's laughter, light and musical, echoed across the beach as she crouched down to observe the tiny ecosystem, her curiosity and delight contagious. And I realized how rare and precious it was to witness her so carefree, so alive, and I vowed silently to treasure these days, to not let them slip by unnoticed. And as we continued our walk, we encountered an elderly couple collecting driftwood, their gentle smiles and easy conversation, reminding me that love, friendship, and companionship could be found in the simplest of interactions. And my mother, always empathetic, engaged them warmly, sharing stories of her youth and listening intently to theirs. And I watched, learning from her the art of connection, of finding joy in the lives of others, while never losing oneself, and then, as the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky with streaks of orange, pink, and lavender, we sat on a large rock, toes dangling near the water, and shared a small picnic we had packed. Sandwiches and fresh fruit, laughing at silly memories, reminiscing about vacations long past, and discussing hopes for the future. And I felt a deep, almost overwhelming sense of gratitude for the privilege of this day, of this uninterrupted, unhurried time together. And as the first stars appeared, twinkling faintly in the dimming sky, my mother shared a story of her childhood, of adventures and mischief, of lessons learned and friendships treasured, and I listened with rapt attention, noticing for the first time how much her eyes sparkled when she spoke of things she loved. And I realized that these stories were more than just memories, they were windows into her soul. And I felt a profound connection, a bridge between our generations that no absence or misunderstanding could ever break. And as night fell and the air turned crisp, we slowly made our way back home. The rhythmic sound of the waves accompanying our quiet reflections, and back at the house, we decided to light a few candles, their warm glow casting dancing shadows on the walls, transforming the familiar spaces into something magical and intimate. And we sat together in the living room, sharing hot chocolate and listening to soft music. Our conversation flowing effortlessly between serious reflections and playful banter, and I found myself opening up about my ambitions, my anxieties about the future, my small triumphs and my missteps, and she listened with patience and insight, offering guidance without judgment, and encouragement without pressure, and at some point she reached over and gently squeezed my hand, a gesture so simple yet so laden with reassurance that I felt my chest tighten with emotion, and I realized that this was the essence of family, the unspoken understanding, the unwavering support, the love that is both comforting and challenging, pushing you to be better while accepting you as you are. And as the night deepened, we moved to the kitchen, preparing a light dinner together, chopping vegetables and stirring sauces. The mundane task transformed into a joyful collaboration, each of us teasing and laughing, sharing small victories like perfect knife cuts or a well-timed stir, and I noticed how her eyes softened when she looked at me, a mix of pride and affection, and I felt a swelling of protective instinct and devotion, wanting to ensure her happiness as much as I cherished my own. And after dinner, we washed the dishes side by side, splashing a little water at each other, our laughter echoing in the quiet house. And then we retired to the sitting area with blankets, listening to the rain begin outside, a gentle patter against the windows, the sound both soothing and nostalgic. And we shared stories from the past of my father's distant presence and her resilience, of the moments she felt alone and yet found strength within herself, and I marveled at her ability to endure, to nurture, to love unconditionally. And in return, I shared my fears and my dreams, my doubts about the future, and she offered wisdom and reassurance. her voice calm and steady, grounding me in ways I hadn't realized I needed, and as midnight approached, we finally prepared for bed. Lingering a moment at the doorway of our respective rooms, exchanging smiles and quiet words of gratitude for the day. And as I lay in my room, reflecting on the events, the laughter, the revelations, the unexpected intimacy of shared vulnerability, I realized that happiness isn't always found in grand gestures or monumental events, but often in the quiet, overlooked moments. The shared smiles, the gentle touch, the knowledge that someone truly sees you and cherishes you for who you are. And in that reflection, I felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment and peace. Knowing that today, my mother and I had strengthened our bond, rediscovered each other, and created a memory that would linger in our hearts forever. A day of simple pleasures, profound understanding, and the quiet magic of family love. A day that reminded me that while life can be unpredictable, beautiful moments await those who notice, who care, who dare to reach out and connect. And as I drifted into sleep, I carried with me the warmth of her presence, the echo of her laughter, the soft wisdom of her words, and the knowledge that tomorrow and every day after our bond would continue to grow, nurtured by care, attention, and shared experiences, and that even amidst life's uncertainties, these moments of connection and joy would remain steadfast, a beacon of love and understanding that no distance, no challenge, and no time could ever diminish, leaving me with a profound appreciation for the quiet, enduring beauty of family, for the laughter, the stories, the shared walks, the gentle reassurances, and the unspoken promise that as long as we notice, as long as we care, happiness and warmth will always find their way into our lives.